Every morning at Victory Heights Secondary School, students rushed through the gate before the bell rang. But Adaobi always walked in last, just when the gate man was about to lock the iron gate. Some students whispered that she overslept. Others said she didn't care about school. Ada would smile politely and walk to her seat at the back of the class without explaining anything. Her lateness became a small mystery students joked about during break. Even the teachers shook their heads whenever she slipped into the class quietly. Nobody ever asked her why, and Ada never offered the answer. She simply blended into the background, hoping nobody looked too closely. As weeks passed, the rumors grew louder. Some students said she lived very far. Others claimed she was just lazy. A few girls said they saw her wearing the same shoes every day and believed she didn't care about school at all. Ada kept her head down and focused on her notes, pretending she didn't hear the gossip. Her closest teacher, Mrs. Bello, watched her from a distance. She noticed that Ada never complained, never caused trouble, and always submitted assignments on time. The girl's lateness bothered her, not because of punishment, but because she sensed something deeper. Still, she waited for the right time to ask. One Monday morning, Timmy, the class captain, arrived earlier than usual. As he passed through the school gate, he saw Ada standing outside, not entering yet. He watched her carefully as she adjusted the worn-out school bag and checked the time on a cracked phone screen. She looked tired, as if she had been awake long before everyone else. Timmy wanted to greet her, but she walked away quickly the moment she noticed someone watching. Her eyes looked worried, almost scared. This confused him even more. Why would someone who was already at school stay outside until the last minute? Something didn't add up. The next day, Ada arrived even later than normal. She rushed into the classroom, breathing heavily, looking pale. Her uniform was slightly dusty, and her hair was messy, as if she had been struggling with something. The entire class stared at her, but Ada walked straight to her seat. Mrs. Bello entered just then and paused when she saw Ada's condition. She didn't scold her like the other teachers usually did. Instead, she gave Ada a gentle smile and asked the class to settle down. The teacher made a mental note that something was definitely wrong. That Friday, Mrs. Bello decided to find out the truth. She left home very early and waited near the street where she once saw Ada walking. After some time, she spotted Ada coming out from a narrow compound carrying a small plastic bucket. The girl looked surprised and frightened when she saw her teacher. Mrs. Bello approached her gently. Ada tried to greet and walk away, but her teacher stopped her kindly. "Ada, my dear, I want to understand," she said softly. Ada froze, unsure whether to run or explain, but before she could speak, a sharp cry came from the direction of her house. Suddenly, a baby's cry echoed from inside the compound. Mrs. Bello turned in confusion, and Ada's face changed immediately. Panic, sadness, and fear all mixed together. Without thinking, Ada rushed back inside. Mrs. Bello followed her quietly and found a small room with peeling paint, an old mattress, and a tiny baby wrapped in a faded blanket. Ada carried the baby in her arms and rocked him gently. She whispered apologies to the child, as if she had left him alone for too long. Mrs. Bello stood shocked, not because of the baby, but because she realized Ada was the one taking care of him every morning before school. Tears filled Ada's eyes as she explained everything. Her mother worked night shifts in another town, and her father had left years ago. Ada was the only one available to care for her baby brother, Chibuike. Every morning, she fed him, changed him, washed little clothes, and waited for a neighbor to watch him before she rushed to school. Sometimes, the neighbor didn't come early, and that was why Ada arrived late. She didn't tell anyone because she feared being sent away from school or mocked by her classmates. It was a secret she carried alone, pretending everything was fine. Mrs. Bello's heart broke as she listened. She placed a hand on Ada's shoulder and assured her that she wasn't in trouble. "You're a strong girl," she said warmly, "but you don't have to carry all this alone." Ada began to cry quietly, relieved that someone finally understood. The teacher promised to speak to the school authorities and find help for their family. For the first time, Ada felt hope. Someone believed her. Someone cared. She didn't have to hide anymore. On Monday, the news spread around school. Not as gossip, but as an announcement from Principal Adeoye. He explained Ada's situation with respect and asked the students to show kindness instead of judgment. Many were shocked, especially those who had been making jokes about her lateness. Some classmates approached Ada to apologize. Even Timmy came to her and said he wished he had asked instead of assuming. Ada felt shy, but she also felt lighter. The mystery behind her lateness was no longer a shadow on her back. With help from the school, Ada's family received support from a local charity. A nearby woman was hired to wash Chibuike every morning so Ada could come to school early and without stress. For the first time in a long while, Ada walked through the school gate before the bell rang. Her classmates greeted her warmly, and Mrs. Bello smiled proudly. Ada realized something important. Sometimes people judge what they do not understand. But once the truth comes out, understanding replaces judgment, and kindness replaces gossip. And that was the beginning of her new life at Victory Heights Secondary School.